5:52, and Pete's on the way, I guess, is that correct?
I always have to list make one for you.
Pete's on the way, correct?
At least as far as I know. But if not, we should keep going. There he is.
Oh, you printed the minutes, thanks.
I did. I printed everything for you, Pam.
Wow.
You're on TV.
Oh.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion approved.
Any discussion?
No,
All in favor?
yeah.
All right.
Hey Larry, say yes.
Yes.
So, Jody Gutterman, our student services director, wanted to have 4 or 5 of these I and J policies reapproved because they've been revised recently and they're all mandated and they're all regulated policies.
Yeah.
So I did print them out for everyone in case you want a copy. I'm thinking we can forward this to the board.
Did Jody give input on them?
She said they're basically fine as is
Okay,
from the School Board Association.
all right.
I added G, B, E, A, B, which you mentioned today in an email.
Yes, I talked to Will today.
So that's attached to the back. It says recommended, not mandatory, not priority, but it is
Yeah.
required.
Well,
basically.
he's saying that, there's a mandatory code of conduct reporting, so it's recommended by the School Board Association, but it's weird because the Teachers Code of Ethics requires it, not the School Board Association. If we
Oh,
don't have the
The
policy,
new, Department of Education
yes,
code, I brought copies, I'm having those copies distributed tonight.
that's fine.
Um,
Of the education code?
yes, just so the board has it, so
Yep.
they can look at it when they look at the new, Code of Ethics policies for
Yep.
second read. So, just so you know how I spent my Thanksgiving break,
Why?
just, I don't know, just looking at like the very first one on this list of 5, which we probably won't be discussing, we'll just go ahead and forward these to the board,
Mhm.
since they're pretty regulated policies.
Mhm.
IHBAA, I actually went through that policy, and wherever I saw see also related policies, I looked at those.
Oh, great.
Oh,
And then I looked at, because those have policies that are related, I looked at those.
Mhm.
So I ended up with 2 pages of nested policies. The green ones are required.
Okay.
So really, these aren't done yet.
Mhm.
And I was crying all weekend, not crying, but I'm thinking, this is how it should be done.
Yeah,
But,
you're linking them up.
but, I need more time to really dig around and see. Some of these we have, some of them we need.
Yep.
And so I just don't know where to go with this. If you'd like, we can hold these back, or we can just approve them, and then we can continue digging through the related policies later.
I think that's great, but I'd like Jody to do some of the work digging through the related ones, just to make sure that because they govern her work.
Right,
So that would be perfectly fine, like we can have Bob and Jody take a look at the other ones that are linked.
so I'll forward this to her. Do you want us to forward these 5 policies? She wants them done, because they are
Yes,
mandated.
if she wants them done, we have to do them,
But
she knows
we
what she's
should
doing.
probably research the related policies in the next couple months.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, Pam.
So let's go ahead, unless you wanna discuss these and forward them to the board in one of their upcoming meetings.
I think that'd be great, we could
This is
start on
just
the
5,
18th.
it's not a lot, just
Yep.
5. And they're not they're not really changed from the School Board Association's drafts.
Yeah, she
Everything
basically,
here, Jody said was fine.
but most of these are also covered by law too.
Right, they're priority meaning mandated, so it's not really something we can
Not really
modify.
something we want to add
Unless
anything
there's a
to.
typo or something specific we need to.
I think we could just sit there and put them right out.
Right, so let's go ahead and put these on the next agenda,
okay.
these 5. Now, I got an email
Can we have a
from,
vote to do that, though, just for the
Oh.
record?
move to forward the 5, policies, IHBAA, JFABD, JFABE, JLF, and GBEAB to the full board for first read at the upcoming meeting.
Second,
did contact Mr. Dawson about JBAA, as Tom had recommended.
Yep.
And he said that it's still out with the attorneys, I believe, I have his email somewhere in here, and he's working on it.
Yep.
So we'll get to that hopefully in the next meeting or two. The non-union support staff policy, GDB, so I got your latest draft. and
Thanks.
It's in here.
The snow days slowed things down a little bit.
Yes, I had to cancel a dentist appointment today because I got so backed up doing things.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's no biggie, it's just like a clean and check, but I couldn't fit it in, so, alright.
Okay.
So,
I went over this today, and then actually, you got everything in there that we talked about last meeting. I don't see where it answered all our questions, we put everything in, I think we're ready to go with that one.
Okay.
What's that,
The support staff wage and benefits.
Yeah, Pete, if you look at page 4, that's where the heart of the work is.
well, I'm betwixt and between.
Okay.
One of the problems we've always had is past school boards have, in my opinion, been a little liberal in some of the things that they've done. And now we're getting the brunt of it, you know. It's absolutely true that future boards are tied to the present board's decisions.
That's correct.
And I gotta tell you, I look at some of these benefits.
Mhm.
They're conditions of employment to a hire that's being hired today.
Mhm.
But when I look at some of these, and I see that if you stay here 15 years, you're gonna get so much money, in 5 years, so much money, if you leave, you get so much money.
Mhm.
You know, people leave for a number of reasons, but often it's because you're getting a better job, you're getting more money. And if you've been here, you know, 5, 10, and 15 years, we're gonna give you a shake, you know, it's almost like a golden parachute to a CEO here.
So where were you,
I have a, well.
did you get
Let's just take, okay, here.
Pete, can I just ask a quick question before we
Yeah,
proceed?
yeah.
Did you so I was able to meet with Diana Rooney at 8 this morning.
Yep.
Diana and I discussed a bunch of things and revised again and sent it out again.
Right.
Is that the version you're looking at? So when you look at page 6, page 4, under full-time employees, does it say 6 months, 1 week?
You've changed the dates, yes.
So can I just take a look at yours just to make sure we have the same
Yeah.
document?
I think you're missing an additional
You're
section
missing
down here.
something. Hold on, let us give you the.
Was that
That's,
sent to me?
yes, but it was untypically, it was not typical that I would send it like at 9 this morning or
Right.
10.
Okay.
Right, so you may not, Pam, I gave you his, I gave
No,
him.
look, I think I can alleviate a lot of it.
The
I
only
think
change was
we
this
need-
section right here.
I think when we have the time, I almost wanna say during the summer or something, we need to take a real strong look at some of these. I mean, if longevity pay,
Or 11.
yeah, number 11, I mean, you know.
That's what we were proposing.
That was one that I came up with too, Pete, and I says, we've already cut some of this stuff, we've hit them with medical. If we do too much, how many, you've already said that we have problems getting.
Well, you know, you've been here, I realize it's 14 years, but you know what? Name me some company, you've been there 14 years, they're gonna give you a handshake and $250.
Yep.
Right? Or if you've been here 15 years, 19 years, thank you very much for being here for 19 years and we've been paying you a salary for, here's $500, because you know, we're nice people. It's not only that, but it's taxpayers' money, it doesn't cost the company anything, so we just tell the taxpayer to pay more.
Yeah.
I have a real problem with these. However, these are conditions of employment for present employees, but what I'm gonna suggest is that if there is some lax time or whatever, we address these issues.
I think we should do it right now.
Well, I don't know if we have.
If that's the case-
I'm not prepared to.
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean? I
All
mean,
right.
because I think this is a deep dive,
Oh, okay, all right.
you know?
So,
Because we're talking, I mean, it's, I mean, if you only take 2 sick days, we're gonna give you, you know, a few more dollars instead of 3, you know? I don't know if anybody read the article about Manchester, 56 or 60% of the employees take like 5 days off. I gotta tell you, I worked here, once I built to 120, Why wouldn't I take the day, morally, this is incorrect, yeah, but you know what, humanistically, I
Right,
get 120 days. After 120 days, I gotta give them back to the company.
right, why not use them?
Why not take a few days off once in a while?
Yeah.
So it's nuts in a sense, but understandable as a human being, and all those people who are saying, oh, well, that's morally wrong, I wouldn't do that. The heck you wouldn't, right, most people would.
The
Yeah.
part that I need to, because I'm having trouble with recruitment,
Yeah,
and we had an issue this summer, which is why I brought this up.
well, this is support people,
It is, but we had a problem this summer with the support person that I wanted to hire.
right,
They
right.
wouldn't accept the position because of the vacation layout. So if you look at page 3 of 5, it's,
Then we can address that with what you wrote down here. And I have no problem.
I'm just
To me,
wondering,
it's more the golden, I wanna call them the golden handshakes. Thanks for working 20 years, here's $500.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because you're a nice person, we're nice people, we just want to thank you.
well, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that the parts in red, like I did what you discussed at the last
Well,
meeting. Pete.
I'm gonna ask for a new copy of this.
I did just give it to you.
Oh, can I keep it?
You can have that, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, but if you look at, under vacation schedule, Diana and I met and we tried to work this out. We said 6 months of employment, you'd get 1 week per our last board meeting. Our past committee meeting. And then we said 1 year for 2 weeks, and 2 years you'd get 2 weeks and 2 days. And then it would start to accumulate the way that it was before. We really didn't change anything, but the key is underneath where it says the superintendent may increase the amount of vacation time given to new hires at the date of hire. New hires will remain at the amount of vacation they received at their date of hire until their years of service become congruent with the matrix. For example, if a new hire receives 3 weeks vacation time, he or she will not receive additional vacation time until he or she has been employed for 6 years. Because I had a person this summer that we really needed to hire,
Sure.
and they said no.
Yeah.
Because they had 3 weeks of vacation time and a young family at their previous job, so I had to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna be violating board policy to recruit the right people.
But for instance, number 3, all employees who utilize no more than 2 sick days during a given year shall receive 2 days per diem salary.
We could take that out.
It's like, does that mean that we're paying them 4 days? The 2 days they took, and then another 2 days for only taking 2?
I would answer that as first read, yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you only take 2 sick days, we're gonna give you 2 days pay.
Well, it's important to know
Why?
that this is driven by board policy, so what we can do is we can say that, starting in July of 2021, these changes will go into effect.
Absolutely.
And the new hire language would work for me now.
Right, yeah.
But let's just,
This is what I mean by a deep dive, because
Yeah, but there are really only
there's a
two-
bunch of them like this.
well, there are really
Yeah, there are.
there are two major areas. One is number 11, longevity pay.
That one I had a real problem with.
And then the severance
The
pay.
longevity pay you have a problem with?
No, I'm just saying that
No,
that was
I
something
did.
that seemed
I
like,
did, yeah.
yeah.
I do.
So number 11 seems like a concern, and then 14. But other than that, I didn't really see any other ones. Pete.
Well,
Were there
I don't
others?
like number 14. Or
No,
did
I
you
know.
just say 14?
That's what I just said.
I
14.
don't like that.
I wasn't listening to you.
11 and 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really the only two, and honestly, it's up to your discretion as to whether or not we continue that.
I mean, a person works 10 years, they go and leave a job making more money or a better job, whatever, and we're gonna give them $1,200. No, is it 12? Yeah. And if they had 15 years, we give them $1,700. Thank you very much for working for us.
No.
I have a hard problem with that. I think we've gotta keep it in for present employees, because it's a condition of
Well, it
employment.
has to
They
be,
came to work saying, yeah, this is what.
So
I'm
what you're
gonna get.
saying is take it out for the future from now,
Effective July, whatever, but I think,
or employees hired prior to the day the board ratifies this.
Well, I was thinking about grandfathering in the
That's
current
what I was
employees. What about that? This is a contract.
no, it's a
It's
condition of
weird.
employment.
Yeah, it's not really a contract, it's
No,
weird.
but it's a condition of employment. I agree, it's not a
Understanding, if I could
contract.
put it that way, I know it's not a formal labor contract, but it is an understanding that when they came to work here, they saw the document.
That's what a
So
condition of
that's the
employment is.
concern, is that,
Right.
we need
I like the
to,
word that you use, grandfathered in.
right.
As of right now, these people are grandfathered in, but as of this date, no more.
We've done those any number of policies, effective, this is going with the, past is, and I came to work for you. Pam just said it, because these are the benefits I'm gonna
Yep.
get.
Yep.
That's a condition of my employment, now you're trying to take it away.
But we're really talking about 11 and 14, and if we wanna say that, you know,
Moving
Well,
forward.
I'd like to,
Well, Seabrook Station, let
I'd
me
like
give you a
to,
point.
I have a couple of others, but I don't wanna.
Seabrook, because they changed management 3 times within 5 years. They went from, we have this wonderful longevity pay for you, to nothing. And you know how they did it? If you don't like it, there's the door. And that's exactly the way they did it.
well,
It's your option, you either continue working or forget it.
Well, here's personal leave. So we're gonna give the person, and this is why I wanna go deeper into it, we're gonna give you 2 weeks vacation.
Mhm.
Then we're gonna let you take 2 sick days, and then we're gonna give you 3 days personal leave.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. Now, I personally don't have a problem with going to the superintendent or the immediate supervisor or the manager and saying, hey, listen, I've got to take, my wife's such and such, take the day off, don't worry about it. You know, and then they watch it, it's not, you've already taken 3, now you want another one? No, geez, my wife's got cancer, oh, we're gonna take care of it.
Mhm.
But right here, you've got personal leave, we're paying someone, let's say it's a custodian, we're either paying overtime, because let's say that guy cleans this room here, well, he's not here, so we either pay overtime, at time and a half plus the pay he's gonna get for the day, or we bring someone in.
Mhm.
I have a hard time with any personal days, as long as we have a system where, you know, if a person legitimately needs to take the day off.
but then
Yeah.
where would that come from, vacation time? Because it has to come from somewhere.
We'll come up with some wording, that's why I say it's kind of a deep dive, we'll come up with some wording for that. You know, because it's a personal matter, you can't even ask, well, why do you want it off?
I know, yeah.
Right? Yeah, well, I want to go to the beach. Wait a minute, we're gonna pay time and a half so you can go to the beach?
Right, but and the cancer situation would be covered under the medical leave. Right,
Yes, but
like
I mean,
it's not-
if Charlie Jones, guy's been working 3 or 4 years, and needs a day off to, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know.
I think typical things for personal leave would be things like, an appointment that you can't schedule during the day, like having your you're a teacher, you know, like furniture delivered, they couldn't do it a different time, getting your car
Dentist
repaired.
appointment, that's not really medical, I mean, it's
Right,
you know. the
Right,
appointment-
it's something that isn't medical or necessarily
Right.
like vacation related, but something that you
Yeah,
need.
my doctor doesn't work nights.
Yeah, but then you just use medical. Right, it's really for things
Yeah.
like deliveries of something, or if you're having your
Driving
home
your
renovated.
daughter or son to
Extraordinary.
college.
Moving is a really good one for
Yeah.
personal days,
Yeah.
like if someone's moving and they need a day or 2 to move. So
The mere fact that it's personal means you can't even ask, why do you want the day off?
unless it abuts a vacation or holiday.
That to me is a gray line.
Well,
you know?
I mean, I just.
No,
don't-
I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
you know, it's personal, the whole
Yeah.
point is, it's personal, I don't wanna share that with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, maybe you call it additional day off, maybe, you know, so they have to justify it.
Well, maybe we just change it to 1 or 2 instead of 3. Right, instead of because it is congruent. The thing is, I don't want the administrators to have to track 3 different types of days.
Yeah.
So like, in other words, the other contracts have personal leave. So I'm hearing, Pete, that it's not necessarily the type of leave, it's the amount,
Well, not only, it's not a cumulative,
right?
so every employee is gonna take 3 days off.
Right.
Now, let's just take the custodial staff, we've probably got, what, 10
Yeah.
employees, 10 custodians?
Way more, yeah.
Okay, so you get 10, it's 30 days, we have to come up with a time and a half.
Yeah.
Or a double time person.
That's why
Something,
I'm hearing you say, make it less,
Yeah,
like 1, 1.5, 2
I would
days.
say 1 day at a time.
Again, I also want it, so if a guy has a legitimate
Problem.
Problem.
needs
That's the
to-
deep dive, yeah.
See, here's the problem. I've worked under principals who were fantastic.
Totally cool, yeah.
I've worked others that, I don't like you, but I like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they were here at the school, we know who they were. And we gotta be careful how subjective we also make this.
Mhm.
So, let's, you know,
So-
Pam's got a whole agenda and I'm.
But I think it's important, I need to move this forward, so what I need is, could you guys approve what's in red for now, and then we look at this again later?
I think we can
I think we
approve it,
should.
we can approve it as is, with an understanding that maybe during the summer or when we have some time,
Yeah.
we can deep dive into this.
Yeah.
Because we're not adding anything or taking
But-
away anything, really.
But I just wanna reflect, Pete, that I feel like you're saying, you're really proposing grandfather longevity pay and grandfather the severance pay, and then talk later about the personal. That's really
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
So why don't we just do that
if
and
you, I have no problem with that.
grandfather the
Wait a
two other pays, get that done, and then we can figure out cause what
But
I
we
wanna do
need-
is have Diana run the
I
amount
was
of
gonna say,
personal
we
data.
need Diana
the
to
data.
come up with the wording for this, for personnel, make sure we're doing it right.
And I wanna be clear that the whatever we do with that, we probably need to grandfather that too. Cause these people have been hired,
Anybody
It's a
who is
condition of employment.
working now, the word we always used in personnel when I was in industry was, that's a condition of employment.
Right.
They came to work saying, this is what you gave me, now you're
Right.
changing it midstream?
Right.
No, you can't do that. I got no problem with that.
I'm just kidding. Cause I'd say it to him, you know that, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
So-
The guy who calls me at 7:00 in the morning.
I don't
8
call you
o'clock
at 7 in the
night.
morning,
Don't
9.
worry about it, it's
Yeah, you
okay.
called me at 8:30 yesterday.
Saturdays, Sundays,
Oh.
well, you gave people off on
So,
2 days in
under
a
dental
row?
health, part 9, I just have one more question.
Sure, Pam.
Can we limit the, percentages to the first two, and then not mention the 21 through 2023 numbers?
Well, I think it's really
The
important.
reason being is that we will be on part 9, the reason being is that by providing these other two numbers for 4 years,
Mhm.
we do have some collective bargaining negotiations coming up,
That's already been covered, Pat.
and
Yeah.
so
That's-
are we,
that's
those
already
are
in contract.
unknowns for the teachers.
But
and-
it's not coming up, it's already been done.
Oh,
That's what
so,
Larry's saying,
already-
is that it's
it's
already
already
been
been in the
changed.
contract.
so these coincide with the
Yeah.
upcoming
That was the
contracts,
thing that I
okay.
checked real
I did
close.
wanna know if that would interfere
Yeah,
with
no.
future negotiations.
Oh,
No,
it's right on
no, it
track.
won't. It's
All
right on
so-
track.
All right,
See,
no
this is
worries.
why we've gotta look at this, I
Yeah.
call it deep dive. Because we don't want people to say, that group of people has a better benefit than I have.
That's the thing that I.
I'm gonna get the same benefit, so I'm going to.
Well, and I thought that if you guys would approve this 90, 90, 87.5, and 85, that I would wanna just kinda double check with one of our employment lawyers
Yeah.
to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up with that whole piece that you just outlined previously, Peter. And I simply think that it's important to share with everyone that we are headed to 85% healthcare for everyone in our organization. And I'm public about that.
No problem
Like,
with that.
that's something that has been negotiated, the change has already been negotiated in other contracts. But I think in fairness to the folks that are on the support staff contract and the teacher's contract, that this group start heading that way too.
Yeah.
But I do wanna be careful about the condition of employment, because they are not a collective bargaining unit.
That's right.
And the other thing that I get nervous about, and I just wanna talk about briefly, is if you think about the return on changing the health insurance, for this group, this is not a highly paid group.
That's right.
So it's more of an expense to them than it is for someone who makes significantly more money. And so the question for the three of you was, is that something that you wanna bring to the board, or do you wanna just leave this group at 90%?
Here's the problem that I've seen, we call it the Me Too clause. Well, and we usually see it in negotiations, well, Timberlane's getting this, so-and-so's getting Me Too, put it in our contract. Now we're into the same unit, the school district, well, they get this and we get that, so Me Too.
Yeah.
You gotta be real careful going down the Me Too street.
Well,
Right.
what we did, when they brought that up, the first group did it. And we said, no, this is when we hit them with this change. Boom.
Yeah.
This is the way it's gonna be, no ifs, ands, no buts. And they ended up buying.
I mean, we have
Just
to be
remember, Be
competitive.
careful not to talk about negotiations.
Yeah, but we have to
I
be
know.
competitive,
Well,
that's understandable, all right? And we've gotta be fair.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, what I have found is in good times, we give the bathwater, the tub, and the baby away.
Yeah,
And
right,
then all of a
right.
sudden, the economy changes, and we're looking at it through other eyes.
Well, yeah, and that's where we're at now, is there was a time when you could pick up folks in a minute, but right now, we're having a hard time attracting people, so I
But
just.
you don't wanna make it too the other way, you know, I mean, you know, and you've gotta understand, we had boards here. I mean, I was the recipient of what I call the stupidest deal the school district ever made with the union. They paid me 5 years of 30% of my salary plus medical insurance to 65 if I didn't work.
Right, to retire, early retirement,
That has gotta be the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
What, I'm gonna turn it down?
right, well, that's why it's been sunsetted now,
Yeah.
it's going
right.
away, we only have a handful of people. No, I agree, and I think that's, so what I hear you saying is that you're okay with this time schedule, Pam, are you okay with it now?
Yeah.
I am, I wasn't sure if this was coincided with our current upcoming agreements.
That's.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty-
since it does, it's not an issue.
The goal is, that yeah, it's not perfect, but it's close.
And as far as longevity and severance pay goes, it's all one pot of money, so whether we give them those things or we adjust their wages
Mhm.
to retain, you know, difficult to recruit people,
Mhm.
does it really matter? I mean, you know what I mean?
it- I didn't have strong feelings on either of those personally,
Right,
but if other people do, I'm not.
I just, this is why we can discuss this. I just have a problem with, you know, oh, you're leaving and you've been here 10 years? Here's a little golden parachute for you, here's a little handshake. Thanks, I
Yeah.
appreciate your 10 years. You're leaving us for God's sakes, right?
Right, I honestly, if we increase the wages, we attract more people.
I would rather see us
So,
increase
yeah.
the wage
Yeah,
and cut out some of this.
That works
Happy,
too,
happy,
yeah,
happy.
sure.
I think
that's
it
more
makes more
attractive.
sense.
People can understand that. To say we're gonna give you 10 years from now, if you ever leave, we're gonna give you, hey, but I'll tell you what, we're gonna give you another $10 a week or 20, whatever. Oh, hey, that I can relate to.
And it's difficult, I mean, again, grandfathering in people if these change over time, whereas if we just pay them additional monies,
They won't
this
say.
goes away, but we're compensating them at the front end, so.
Yeah.
And they'll actually figure it out real quick, if they're making more money with this than getting that $10 a year.
Right.
Right, exactly.
So it's really,
Good.
it's real, I'm not concerned about either
I think-
option, really.
I think your idea is, both of you, is that if we sit here and pass this one now.
Yep.
Then come back in when things slow down.
Pass it with the changes.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no rush to change it. I mean, you know,
And then we
we
can
have
come
time.
back in with our time and really nitpick it to pieces the
Yeah.
way it should be.
Yep.
And if we can get at least 10 of these straightened out before we
Yep.
go through hassle again,
Right.
we're ahead of the game.
So you
Yeah,
wanna
my-
table it for now and.
Well, no, I'm hoping that we're gonna
we'll
approve it
pass
with
it now with the changes he wants.
Oh,
the
I
red
see,
changes, but everything
we're-
else we're gonna leave alone for now and do some
Okay.
homework.
so,
Right,
okay,
right, yeah.
First
And
read
we'll
with red
we'll just bring it up
changes.
later, that's all.
Okay,
So Pete, did you wanna take out 11 and 14 in grandfather, or do you wanna wait?
Oh, we're gonna wait.
We're gonna wait,
Let's
okay.
not muck things up now.
All right.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just-
So-
But before we forward it to the board on the 18th, I will double check that the insurance isn't a change in working conditions. Because if it is, we may have to grandfather on that one,
right,
which is
That's fine.
fine. But if we have to grandfather on it, then I wanna just move it to 85%.
Yeah,
We can do that starting immediately. We don't have to do it in 4 years. We
Right.
can just do it now.
Yeah, because that's what the others do.
Right.
That's where
And
they're,
if the people who were hired before get 90, they got 90, that's what they signed on for. They're not in a collective bargaining group, so it's tricky.
I don't wanna muck this thing up,
Yeah.
but is there some way, and it would be fair and not challengeable in courts or labor relations, that you could say, we'll pay 90% of a person making this salary, 80% of a person, so that I hate this, I don't like to use jobs, but the lower paid individuals that come in, that extra 5% is a larger percentage of their salary than the person who gets 5% of the higher salary person. So
Right.
my 5% on $35,000 a year versus the 5% when I'm making $80,000
That
a
is
year.
exactly the point I was just making a minute ago, is that the amount of money, if you take it away from someone who makes 80,000 or 100,000 a year at 85%, is the same sum of money against someone who makes 30.
That's right.
And
That's
that's why I wondered if we should just leave this.
Because it's
at
not a
90 for
percentage
now.
of salary, it's a percentage of the cost
It's
of the
of the health
policy.
policy.
So if the policy is $5,000, well, let's just come up with a number, and the person's making 35, that's $5,000,
Right,
right? On
Right.
35,000 versus $5,000 on 85,000.
right, and it's not that, it's like 1,500, but it is a lot of money.
I'm just coming up with numbers,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
It's more painful to the
Yes.
lower salary people.
Right.
Can we adjust them to give them 90, I don't know, give them we'll give them 90% up to $40,000 a year, or
So my-
percentage of, I don't know.
In light of what you said earlier, my opinion is that we should leave this at 90% for now,
That's
and put
fine.
the health insurance in the camp with the other things that we're gonna look at deeper.
That's fine.
Because I'm worried about a change of employment, I hadn't thought of it that way, or the
Yeah.
change of the,
Condition.
condition of employment. I'm concerned with that at this point, and I don't wanna forward that to the board until we've done more homework.
Yep.
But we could do that in January, February, or after deliberative, you know, it's not, cause it's 3 years away, we can still do it at the same timeline. Are you okay with that, Pam?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so let's leave it at 90 for now,
That's
and
fine.
then we'll work on that
Well, I'm not suggesting we do it, I'm just saying we should look.
Look,
Yeah.
alright, so we'll leave it at 90 for now, and then I'll look at it. So can I have a motion to approve everything except for the health insurance changes, or what's in red?
So moved.
Wait, but you wanna change what's in red,
We wanna change the policy to what's been outlined in red,
right?
except for the health insurance change,
Which
because
was
we need to do
saying
some
90.
homework on that.
Right, okay, yep.
So
What else?
we're gonna strike the last two percentages?
So we're gonna
We're-
leave.
we're gonna
just-
leave the
Or
health,
just leave it all as 90
we're gonna leave it at 90 for now, but we're gonna look at it and come back to
for
it
all
along with.
all four school years?
Yeah, we're just gonna strike those dates out of there, Pam, under number 9, so it'll just,
Oh, I see.
we're just gonna leave it the way it used to be for now.
Oh, all right, no worries.
No,
okay.
no change on health insurance until we do
Sure.
some homework.
Oh, I see, okay.
I think Pete has a point that that could be a condition of employment, and I wanna be careful not to set us up for litigation.
Okay. So I would second the
The other,
motion
the other,
to
I don't wanna muck
forward
this,
to the full board.
I don't wanna muck this up any further, but you know the other problem I have with this? Is costs are going to go up, which means the cost of the employee goes up. You know, we're paying let's say the policy's $10,000, we're paying 90% now. All right, 5 years from now, it's $20,000, but we've reduced it down, so we're only paying 85, now they're paying 15.
Mhm.
You know, and to those, of course, their salary's gonna go up, but I'm looking for a fair thing. It's been my experience that people at the low end of the salary pay a disproportionate amount of their income for the same benefits that someone else gets,
Right, and that's what I was thinking too.
you know?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be fair.
Let's work on this one some more.
Yeah. So you're gonna take out number 9,
We're gonna take out the changes to number 9 and leave the
the
rest.
3 changes, right?
So I seconded the motion to forward to the board for first read.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So, Tom, you'd mentioned school community relations policy in section K.
Mhm.
Did you say you wanted to revise some of these, or
Well, this
look
was,
at the
so,
whole thing, or
what's going on right now, so I'll just give you an update, you know, Phyllis is going to go through all of these K policies and Phyllis and I will take the suggested changes from NHSBA.
Okay.
We'll cross out what we need to remove and add what NHSBA would recommend that we add. And then we'll bring probably half of these to an upcoming meeting for the
Okay.
policy committee. So we're not ready to do that tonight, obviously, because I haven't been able to get them to you, but we'll work on that after this week's a big week.
So there are no burning issues, just.
No,
wanna-
just time to do
wanna
K.
update
We've been doing like groups, so I
Okay.
chose K for the
Alright.
next group because it was a logical group to do.
Okay,
And, we should be able to get through these pretty quick. The ones that are gonna be tricky,
all right,
just so you're ready, are KFE, KFR, application for use of facilities and public use of facilities guidelines and procedures.
okay,
Because those are the ones where people, use our stuff,
all right.
right? And there's some energy around
Make
that.
sure we keep people accountable if they're gonna use, you know, if I'm gonna lend somebody my car, I wanna make sure they're accountable for using it when they get in an
Bring
accident.
back a full tank of gas and make sure they have insurance.
Very, very important, by the way, when you're doing this, that there is someone from the school, and I'm not talking a custodian,
Mhm.
I'm talking a person in authority who can make decisions
Mhm.
here at all times whenever our facility is taken by a private organization
That,
or a non-school district organization.
so that's gonna be a big conversation, because
we-
compensating for that.
We've had discussions on it.
Yep, just so you know that's gonna be a big discussion, because if we're expecting administrators to be here whenever the buildings are in use, we're gonna have costs.
Wouldn't necessarily have to be an administrator.
Could be a
But
teacher or a
whoever-
staff
Whoever
member.
set it up. Now, it could be, and again, make it like a police detail. Okay, you wanna use our facility,
Mhm.
you have to pay X number of dollars directly to that teacher, and there's a teacher who'll be responsible. Or, you know, we can work it out, maybe an administrator, and you know, it could be a benefit to the administrators. Hey, you guys wanna get on this list, if anybody outside Sanborn uses a facility, they're gonna pay you $200.
Right,
Like a
right.
detail for the police department, so that the school, in a sense, is out of it as far as salaries, benefits, unions, this and that, you know, but too many times have, as you know, walked in and it's like, who's in charge? Well, there's a custodian down there, it's like, what?
Mhm.
You know, because somebody has allowed somebody to use.
Mhm.
It's scared the hell out of me.
And what I'm concerned about too is just the fees. Like Matt's working on the building use fees, you know, and that's another issue, making sure that we're getting compensated.
Appropriate fee.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
I mean, the other thing is that when this school was built, one of the selling points was that people will be able to use, for example, that auditorium. But then, they put so many hoops in the way of people who wanted to use it, that it became not viable for them to use it.
Yep.
You know, and, you know, we were told, oh, we could rent, you know, that's why we built that, when I say huge, that auditorium, you know, because, oh yeah, that's why we got all that electronic stuff up there, which is now probably antique,
Yep.
because
Oh,
technology
no,
changes every week.
You weren't at the facilities meeting, it needs to be completely
That's why I
redone.
say antique.
To the tune of over $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, but the other problem is, so
Well,
here's,
part of that, if I can interrupt.
yeah, no, go ahead.
If we were using it for the way it was sold to us, we would have replaced year for year.
Right, you'd have that revolving fund up and
Because
running.
we never used it, now all of a sudden, we ran into the same problem at Town Hall, and I happen to be the point man for the selectmen on upgrading our video stuff. And the costs were phenomenal for electronic stuff that we needed. You know. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I think my concern would just be, if we tie, I'm not saying that we don't need to tie having someone be at those meetings to be responsible, we do, right? But we need to figure that out, because it's not necessarily the willingness of the organization renting to pay for that. It may be the willingness of getting someone to do it. So getting a staff member to do it,
If
and
we
then
make
we
it
lose.
attractive enough that somebody will do it.
Right, the revenue may not, it's gonna be a walk in a balance, Pete, just like you just said, then you pay them enough, but then how
Somebody
much?
said to me, I'm gonna give you $50 an hour for 1 hour before and 1 hour after, so there's 2 hours, they're gonna be here 4 hours, that's, you're gonna get yourself, you know, that's
Right.
60, we're gonna give you $300.
But the question is, at what point does it become a diminishing return where people won't rent our facility because they have to pay that fee? And then they don't somewhere else, I don't know,
We
there's a
can't
lot of
have-
work we have to do
We
on
can't
that.
have people in here without somebody.
I agree completely,
To
I'm
make the
just,
call.
I'm just simply saying that the balance is gonna be the key, that's why I brought it up, I said KFE and KFR are gonna be really hard to figure out.
Right.
Right, because it's the balancing of the scales to get people in here using the facilities with the costs associated with facility management.
But I will tell you, if it works, I mean, that was one of my concerns with the library.
Mhm.
Because in my opinion, libraries, as the historical library that I went to when we were kids, researching the encyclopedia, that's going away. Even books, there, you know, some people like the paper book.
Mhm.
But our library is used phenomenally. It's a cultural center.
Mhm.
I think we could do the same thing with us if we
Mhm.
make it attractive enough and have what they want.
Yep.
You know, aside from the money making, but the school should be a focal point for the
This
community.
should be the center of the community, absolutely,
Yeah,
I agree.
Our library, I am so proud of what they're doing, because I tell you,
You mean the Kingston Library?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's-
was against that library for the very reason that if it was like the old library was, it was like, oh my God, no. But they have turned that around, and what a marvelous job they're doing.
Great, all right, we'll get to work on this.
So I just got another policy dump from the School Board Association this morning.
Yeah, you saw
There are
that?
8 new required policies, we need to look at, so some of these are for Jody, I'll put them on the next agenda.
Sounds great.
I snuck in one more policy on the Code of Ethics list for tonight.
I love those code of ethics.
I snuck it in because I noticed it the other day when I was reading through their, repository. This came up at my campus. Instructors were selling workbooks and, you know what I mean? Just practice problem sets and things to their students at cost.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't doing it through the bookstore. They were doing it, at the local Kinko's. So to avoid having teachers try in a good way, in a good-natured way, to provide additional materials to their students, but charge them the cost
Mm-hmm.
off the grid, if you know what I'm saying. We may want to have this policy added as well.
Okay.
It's pretty innocuous. It just says you should not monetize your position
Yep.
without
And the
authorization
out of
from
district
the-
is what we're already doing in practice, so
and
like,
it
for
says
example.
without board approval, so if someone wants to sell like a math workbook
Yep.
at cost,
Yep.
it should have board approval. Of course, it shouldn't be prohibitive, but,
Well, my whole
It's
thing
just-
is that if you need the math book, we should buy it for the kid.
right, I mean.
It's a public school.
Sure.
We shouldn't have to pay for it, because
Yeah.
that creates an
Right.
inequity for,
Yeah,
you know.
but it's just something that came up at my campus where teachers were selling things that were their work products.
Yeah.
I think the bookstore just wanted their cut, That's what happened.
I was wondering
This
about
is a
that.
college, yeah, so
Yeah,
they were like
yeah.
unhappy about that, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I put that on there as an additional, forgot to mention it to you guys.
So
Okay, you wanna talk about this tonight, or have
Well, I'll just mention it's on there, I'll explain it if people have questions. I'm just gonna ask for people's general impressions of this list tonight. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time discussing
Yeah,
the content.
what I would say is we're doing the first read. If you have questions, email them to
Right,
me.
I'm just gonna say, anyone have an impression of this list? Would you like to speak to it tonight before we?
Because Jamie will read all of his
You're
questions.
talking
I got his
GCID.
questions, I already responded.
No, she's switching gears already a little fast, Pete.
Oh.
So the question before us
This
is,
is part of.
I was
tonight's-
reading this, that's
This
what.
is part
Yeah.
of tonight's list.
are you okay with that being a part of tonight's list?
Well,
For first read, it's not-
the first two, I don't like them at all,
Okay,
Okay,
all right, I mean, people, if I work at home and come up with this great program that I go to other school districts to present and they give me a fee, and
yeah,
I've spent my own personal time doing this,
Mhm.
but I'm supposed to, because I work here, not charge the fee, even though it may have cost me thousands of dollars to put this computer stuff together or what have you, I'm sorry, then I won't come and you won't get the benefit, So the thing is, it is assumed, I don't like assumptions, that lectures, demonstration, or related activity performed by teachers within the district are to be considered a service. Who the hell, hey, I just went and spent $10,000 putting together this book, having an editor do it, and what have you, and everybody thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread, but because I work here, you get it free.
so you're kind of thinking that,
What, are you kidding me? You pay like anybody else. Now, if they wanna say, hey, I work here, I'll give you a discount, well, that's up to them. But why should my own personal time that I spent researching, finding stuff, come up with things, having friends read it and proofread it and, all this stuff, and spend my own hard-earned money and time, but I'm supposed to give it to the school district because I work here.
well, I think when it says directly related to his or her professional position, it means
I'm a
Probably
biology
means,
teacher, and I write a textbook.
lesson preparations and so forth.
Well,
It doesn't mean commercial activities like writing a textbook.
Let
Of
me,
course, you get compensation for that.
yeah, but the problem with that is I can see what
Where's the
Peter
fine
is
line?
coming. Yeah, where do you draw the line where, okay, I did this at home, it's something above and beyond what I teach, and then somebody out there in the public sits there and says, you're a teacher, you got all your stuff from here.
They're not saying that, they're saying if I go to Exeter, I could charge, but if I come to Sanborn, I can't charge.
Well, essentially the same thing, yeah.
so here's the question.
Well, not the same.
Yeah.
Can I just reel us back a little bit?
Yeah, I
Um,
just want time to digest this.
No,
Yeah,
that's fine.
No,
Yeah.
and what I was gonna say to Pam is really, I would not speak about this one tonight because we didn't go through the process. If it was included in the packet
Okay.
for the board, it really isn't supposed to go to the board till it goes through this committee.
Yeah,
Right.
And I don't wanna let that happen even once, because that sets a precedent for future.
Decide in
I'm
case,
sorry, I just
regret
misread
leisure.
everybody's signals here, because
Yep.
for the other list, everybody's like, just give it to the board, it's like, okay, here you
Yeah.
go.
Well,
Yeah, but we've
I
been
read
through those,
that.
we've been through
Yeah, we did.
those,
We've done a
right, like
couple
the,
of those.
Right,
The-
but you were
the-
so nonchalant about it, I thought
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were pretty
well,
much.
No,
this
I-
one,
I've
yeah,
read
but I wanna be
No,
clear
that's fine, I
that
will table that one for the meeting
these have been
tonight.
Jody has worked hard on
Right,
these.
yeah.
No one on the admin team has seen these yet.
Just that one.
Right, but this is
Yeah.
big, like, it could be a problem, and I wanna
Right.
hear what they think.
Well, actually, that was a problem already here, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was, and so that's what I was gonna say, is that there has been some concern and confusion about people presenting at different, conferences and whatnot with regard to competency education, and whether or not there was a duality of that. So I've been very strict about the second part of this, out of district.
Yeah.
Anyone who does that has to either take an unpaid day, or they take if they're getting compensated by another organization, they take an unpaid day or a vacation day. So administrators have vacation days, teachers do not.
See, here's the way I kind of look at it. If it's a feather in our cap, we'll take care of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, wow, Sanborn, yeah, okay, and everybody wants to come to Sanborn to observe our schools, and we get, that's one thing. But if it's simply to say, we're gonna get your hard work for free, that's different.
Right.
So when it comes to them coming to you and saying, listen, I've been invited to such and such a place to speak about something that I wrote a book on.
Right,
If they say, well, that's one thing, but if it's something that I wrote the book on, and remember you paid me, we came in and we do this program now, they would like me to speak about that at Sanborn. Oh, that's a feather in our cap, look what we're doing at Sanborn, it's working marvelously.
right, context is
Test
everything.
scores are up, and, hey, no problem, they're paying for everything, yeah, I'll give you the day off,
Right,
you know.
right, no, I just wanted to slow this down just a hair and think about it to make sure of the side stuff.
Yeah.
But I do wanna be clear though, Pete, I struggle with just so before we have the conversation at the next meeting, I struggle with the line between developing something that really helps you to do your job really well and charging, the district already pays me or my staff a salary. We expect them to use their best practice as a result of their salary. So I think there's a fine line between what you were kind of saying, Pete, about you develop something and then you have to do it for free here, versus whether or not it's embedded in your practice.
I designed a course, okay, in here, right? Life happens.
Mhm.
And I took somebody from 15 years old to about 40, and we came up with, and I had portfolio, and I spent hours and what have you, right? I turned it in for staff development, so it was a little bit different. Principal at the time, I said, what do you think of this? He said, great idea, school board would never go for it, right? But I brought a kid from 15, anything from winning the lottery to getting divorced to somebody died. I had it set up that ministers and priests would come in and say, because they'd pick out of the jug. I had parents coming in, they had to sign that they would help, so that if you went home and said, Mom, I'm pregnant, okay, let's talk about this now. Could you live at home, right? Could you not live at home? Oh, okay, you can't. Now you've got to go out and shopping. You gotta go shopping with the parent, 1 week with a list, 1 night without a list. But the parent has to say, yeah, I can afford to do that. So the parents were involved, I shouldn't, if that took off, and I gave it to this school district, and I didn't take staff development, I spent months on it.
Right,
And now because I work here, when I present it to Exeter and they say, great idea, we'll buy it, can you be the advisor on it? Yeah, but I have to give it to Sanborn?
well, but there's a difference, that's not, so the key is related to your professional position.
That was my professional position.
Well, yeah, but
It's
your
a
position
teaching,
was-
it's a course.
You were a science teacher.
Yeah,
So,
but that's a thin line,
I know it is a thin line, and that's what we need to talk about.
yeah.
That's exactly my point.
So if I came up with a biology curriculum, because I taught,
There you
or
go.
physics, or whatever, all other courses I taught, I'll give you another one. I came in with what's inside the egg, and the kids, I went out Walmart, bought these eggs, and you'd take DNA, and you'd take a chromosome, put it in an egg, and then a smaller egg, which represented the sperm, you put another one in, and you just shove them in there, and then you open them up, and you have to map them down and say, okay, this was a boy, this was it, so the kid next to you would get, a kid with blue eyes, another kid get brown eyes, another kid, and I put some weird stuff in for the kids, buck teeth and, whatever. So that I designed that, it was biology.
Mhm.
I couldn't package that and sell it?
Well, that's the thing, is that yes, you could.
But if I then say, hey, Sanborn, why don't you buy this from me, I sold them to
That would be-
1,500 different schools, but now I have to give it to Sanborn?
And that's the very question that this policy is trying to address. It's gray.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
it
very
really
gray.
is, this isn't the first time this issue has come up, and Pam's starting to see why it can get muddier with public schools in a way, because Pam was thinking of it through selling like a workbook, right?
Or a chemistry lab where the kids forgot their equipment and the teacher has some spares in the drawer, but she'll sell it to you at cost
Right,
because you forgot yours.
Right.
That kind of transaction, any kind of money transaction is what I'm thinking.
right, and
I'm
that's
not
selling it to
thinking about
students.
human capital or anything.
Yeah, Pete's thinking of it like through the lens of,
Yeah. But even professional development, I get paid extra to do work on my website, but that's an investment in my class.
right,
And they're paying me for professional development time. So to me, I wouldn't monetize that because it's already been
But
monetized.
you know two things in this state.
So yeah, it's pretty confusing.
it is, but they're totally different situations, each of you
Right.
have completely
The
different
average
lenses.
elementary school teacher spends about $600 of their own money in their classroom,
Right.
number one. Number two, and I don't know if it's still true or not, because I've been out of
More
education,
than 600, I would say,
but if there was a situation where teachers came in, parents came in, and teachers covered over all the stuff they bought, right? I believe it went to the Supreme Court, and pretty much, if you buy a computer and you bring it into your classroom, it belongs to the school district.
Yeah, the rule is that if it's been donated to the district, it belongs to the district.
But I'm using it in my own personal classroom for the benefit of my kids,
Yeah.
and now the school district takes it?
Yeah, I don't think that would fly.
No, I think it did, that's the whole
Send me
point.
that, can you send that to me, cause I haven't
Oh
heard
God,
that.
it was 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
At the time, I was a big union guy, you know?
Yeah, cause I had not heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
But anyway,
Well, I
that's,
get the idea, okay.
Ah, Pam's like, okay, uncle.
I'll say
one of the
well.
things I wanna do with our policies is exactly what we're doing. Talk about the real world versus the, oh, that sounds good, let's write this.
Yeah, how
let's
does it
have
actually
that
happen?
Well,
Yeah,
You know,
The
and
worst
we're lucky because we're paying
regulatory
it out of here.
excesses happen in education. I mean, honestly, some of it just takes away from parental autonomy. Every time I read this stuff, whether it's local, and a lot of it is one family or one
Oh,
parent
yes.
complained at one district up north,
Mhm.
and now it's a policy, either required or optional,
Mhm.
which may have nothing to do with us
Yep.
or our circumstances.
which is why really
So
ultimately.
we shouldn't be like getting overly zealous about it, adding more policies to the manual. I'm just going for the ones that are absolutely.
Well, that's why I was saying, like, when it says optional like this, I get a little bit
Oh,
like,
yeah, me too.
do we really need to?
I'm just
'cause, like-
explaining why
Yeah,
the
yeah.
money flows can't happen in a classroom. That
Yeah.
was the entire intent of my
Yeah.
I'll
campuses.
tell you, my first
We
flag.
haven't had a problem with it here,
All right.
but it's
then.
something to think about.
My first flag on this was, it is assumed.
That there is. a
What do you mean it's
word
assumed? What,
So it was like one thing happened somewhere in New Hampshire, something happened.
Or
in another
nationally, yeah.
district.
Or nationally,
It
yep.
could be, but
Yeah.
it's probably in the state, but still.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm working on one right now around cell phones. So
Yeah.
I'm meeting with all the superintendents in the southeastern group tomorrow to discuss a problem of practice.
I
which is
just
the
feel
search of cell
bad for the
phones.
parents. I always think of them when I read these policies, because some of these policies come from some parent who had some issue somewhere else, or some interest group that came in from outside the
Yep.
state
Yep.
to lobby for some regulation.
Yep.
And some of these regulations are pretty wild, I'm sorry.
They are, they are.
I'm like, are you kidding me, really?
Did we get everything that we needed tonight?
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do tonight?
Tonight at the board meeting,
We're gonna cover,
we're gonna go over,
Budget, and we're going to go through the code of ethics policies, which are
they're on the
the
agenda.
ones we had gone through at our last meeting.
okay, that's what I thought.
And those are first
So I
reads,
will
so,
pull the one I had mentioned and everything else. I'm not gonna go on and on about these policies tonight. I'm just
No,
gonna say,
Oh,
already
thank you.
received comments from Jamie, good comments.
Yep.
So please
If you have any
Will
other
it
further
be any
comments,
further,
yep,
So we
yep.
can check it with legal, and then we can discuss it second read.
And I talked to Will about some of Jamie's comments today.
Yeah.
He was a little bit confused, so we're gonna talk again, but we tabled it until we hear from the whole board, because we wanna do them
He reads
simultaneously.
too fast. When I
He
wrote
reads fast.
policy, that was a policy subcommittee adjustment.
Yeah.
But he didn't see my notes, so he's like, what does policy mean?
Yeah,
It would be
yeah,
us.
Will was asking that, like, what does policy
It
mean?
would mean us,
Yeah.
not the school board association.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
funny.
next.
Oh,
So,
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I move a second.
Okay,
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. All right,
Okay,